Hey, good morning for those of you out in the West Coast, all the way out in Hawaii. Uh, I don't know what it is like. Good evening to you out in Germany, and good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. I'm excited to get started. Nice sunny day. As soon as we finish this up, I've got one short meeting, and then I'm heading to the boat. So exciting day for me, and it's always fun when it's sunny. If you're out here where it's cold, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We've got a good topic to wrap up our week, right? I love throwing in occasionally the dates that we're doing these. So if you happen to watch a replay, you see this. But top 10 mistakes to avoid when working with teaming partners in the federal market. Today is November 18th, 2022. So we got a good day to handle this topic. Before we get too far into that, I just wanted to give you a random tip, just for those of you who show up early. I try to provide a little extra value. If you're tracking on the State Department, if you do work with the State Department, or if you're interested in that, they just dropped their forecast a couple of days ago, and I plan on trying to put it out. I'll probably do that on Monday or something. But I'll massage it, put it out in a way that's a little bit more interesting. But they've got a lot of good information, and there are a lot of good opportunities. I think a couple hundred of them here in CONUS for 2023, continental United States, right? The lower 48 states. A lot of opportunities there, a lot of opportunities across the world, but also they got them broken down by socioeconomic or set-aside status, right? Whether it's full and open, hub zone, et cetera. And then the last thing is it's got names, numbers of people in there. So definitely reach out, right? I know people who have reached out to folks on a forecast, following up on opportunities that fit within their core competency, and have had traction where it's led all the way to a contract. And one of the reasons it is leading to a contract for people I know who've done this is because they got ahead of the opportunity. We call it shifting left. They're engaging that program office, contracting officer, whoever, long before the RFP drops. And that's a great thing. So forecasts, when they're done right in the agencies, can lead you to some good successes. So definitely chase that down. Thanks to my friend who I see in the chat, who gave me that little tip story today on her own journey. Okay, if you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my daily LinkedIn Live federal sales training, where I teach you tips, steps, processes, procedures for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process, right? When you follow the process A to Z, you're going to achieve predictable, repeatable results. And that's what you want. That's what we want for you when we keep coming back day after day to teach you some new way of looking at federal sales. And so we're excited to be able to bring that to you. Do me a favor, though, before we get started in today's topic around teaming partners, let us know who you are, right? Let the buyers know, let me know, let the people in the community know your company and your core competency. Put a couple of keywords in there that describe your core competency. 2 or 3 words is more than enough. And put your company name in there. There I'm looking, I'm doing a little spot check on chat. I don't look at chat too much when I'm training, but I can see Agile Vector, for example, out of Florida. I love that you throw in where you're coming from. That's always fun for all of us. But specializing in admin services and training support. That's pretty clear and easy to see, and seeing how it fits together as well. And it looks like Chris is always open to connecting, so definitely connect with her. But put that in the chat so we know who you are. Also, as we go along, remember that the chat is your community. That's your small business peers around government contracting world, the federal market. Sometimes we get people from outside of small businesses. So whether it's the 7 mentors like PTAX, they come in. We also get buyers coming in and large primes. So definitely engage in there. If you see people that you think you might connect with on their core competency level, reach out. If you're both in Jacksonville, Florida, or wherever, or in Woodsland, Texas, like Tan, if you're in that area, then maybe you guys connect and you just are able to create teams around common efforts in the federal market. So be engaged in the community. We love the fact that that's there for you. And we especially love when you're able to create relationships and take them out of this environment and begin to build your own strategic relationships with people perhaps you've met in here. Last thing I want to just say is that as I go along, do me a favor. If I ask you to put something in chat, do so. Let me know that you're following with what I'm saying, that what I'm trying to teach you is coming across. You're getting the point. I wanted to say thank you very much to our Sustaining members. Without sustaining members, we would not be able to keep bringing what we bring to you year after year. We've been doing this for 5 years, right? So thanks to the sustaining members, please become one if you haven't already become one. Okay, so today we're going to be diving into top mistakes to avoid with teaming partners in the federal market. And this one's a big one to me because there's some things you're going to run into that you just have to make the mistake before you learn. But there's other things that many of us have made the mistakes before you. And if you just listen to us, you'll be able to avoid making those mistakes yourself. Well, the things I'm going to talk about today are avoidable mistakes in the future. So really get a pen and paper out and get ready to write these ones down. But I'll give you a hint of what these 5 are so that you always know what I'm going to be talking about. So today, the 5 mistakes I want to talk to you about are not using a teaming partner worksheet when you're determining what teaming partners you want to find. Second one is not treating teammates like a customer, right? Value them. Third one, committing too early to a teaming relationship. The fourth one is not agreeing to rates or even understanding rates before signing a teaming agreement. And then the fifth one, my favorite mistake, if you will, is having vague teaming agreement language, in particular, language that does not include termination criteria. And so I'll get into this in a minute, but one of the things I want you to understand when I talk about teaming agreements, I don't look at it from a legal standpoint at all. It really is not a legal document, right? It's a written handshake, if you will. The subcontract's the handshake. I mean, the legal document. When you get a subcontract, it's there. A good teaming agreement generally says, hey, this is all valid, but it's really going to be dependent on what happens when the RFP drops, something like that, right? But when the RFP drops and you get a contract awarded, that's when the subcontract comes in, and that's when you've actually got something. So keep that in mind that as I go through today, I'm talking from a salesperson's perspective as it relates to, in particular with teaming partners, those happen around capture and an opportunity. So I'm looking at this going, how can you make your capture activities and your opportunity just go easier? How can you remove the friction that we might be putting in there by doing some of these mistakes? So the first thing I want to talk to you about, a mistake that we make, is not using a teaming partner worksheet. If you've ever heard me talk about having successful meetings, when you go into a meeting, you should use a call plan. It's a written guide for the success that you want to have. It's a written guide for the questions you want to ask. Well, when you go looking for teaming partners, I believe it is a mistake for you to just kind of do it without any criteria. You want to be able to say, this is what we're looking for from a teaming partner. So a couple of examples of what I have on a teaming worksheet, and I use teaming worksheets when I'm working with customers at a level where I'm helping them with their capture and really driving home an opportunity in the direction we want. But on a teaming worksheet, things that you would have on there that you want to think about when looking for a company that could be a teaming partner is, do you need them to serve as a prime or a sub, right? What socioeconomic status might you want them to have? I'm looking for a teaming partner perhaps that has a hub zone designation like me, so maybe they're only taking some of the 50% I have, and I still have another 50% I could use with larges or other smalls. So understanding what socioeconomic status you're looking for. Do I need them to have access to a contract vehicle? What skills in particular, what competencies do I need them to have from a company standpoint or from individuals, right? Subject matter experts that come in. I need to know that your company has this. And then several questions I ask about past performance. What agency past performance do I need them to have? Any? Maybe I don't need them to have any, or I just need them to be in the federal government. Or maybe more specifically, I need you to have NAV war experience, naval warfare in there. Past performance, what specific task areas? If there's 7 task areas in an opportunity in there, which ones do I need this teaming partner to bring in? If I cover down on 5, then I'm looking for a teaming partner who can cover down on these 2. When I know that, and I start having conversations with a teaming partner about the opportunity, I say, look, there's 7 task areas, but the reason I'm really reaching out to you are these 2. Can you cover down on those? Because that's what I need, right? It'd be nice if you cover down on what we do, but why do I really need you for that? And then the last one on past performance is similar size, right? I'm looking for similar size contracts. So if I'm going after an opportunity and I want a teaming partner who can bring 1 past performance, I need it to be a $15 million past performance. Well, I need to be clear about that. So that way, when I start having conversations with teammates, it's really clear. I reach out and say, hey, Jane, I think we might be able to connect on this opportunity. Love to chat with you about it. Here's what I'm looking for from you. Is this something you can deliver? For example, experience in NavWar, covering down on these 2 task areas and having a past performance that's 5 million or 15 million or whatever, right? When I'm able to say those kind of things to Jane, she can quickly get back and go, oh yeah, that's us. Or, oh no, that's not us. But I know another company that could actually cover down on that for you. 2 other things you want to put into your teaming worksheet is organizational certifications, ISO, CMMI. Do we want those kind of things from our teammates? And then the last one is more than one teammate. Do I need more than one teammate, or am I looking to cover down on all of this from just one teammate? This worksheet, when you put it together, it will push you away from thinking about, oh, I know this company or I know that company. And instead you say, these are our criteria. Let's call it a column A in a spreadsheet. And you list out any company you can think of going across the top, and you just start checking them off, right? It's a process for identifying and finding teammates. And it's a process that will help you avoid getting teammates that aren't good fits, right? So that's the first mistake. Second mistake that I want you to pay attention to is not treating teammates as customers or as a sale. I want you to value them. And this one's really important to me because what happens is when we have a customer in the federal space and we're trying to sell to them, we treat them like the golden goose, right? We're very protective of them. We know that if we treat them correctly, they will deliver golden eggs for the rest of our life type thing. And so we treat them with the utmost respect, and we're always 100% reliable. We are going in there in any capacity trying to figure out how can we make sure that they know that we truly do care about them, because people don't care what you know until they know that you care, right? And so how do we make sure that they're tracking on that? And I want you to treat teammates that same way. Sometimes we make this mistake where we treat teammates like a second-class citizen. You know, we treat them like a vendor that we don't care about. It's like, what are you talking about? These people, potentially, you're getting into a relationship that will be long-term. On the one opportunity, it could be a 5-year commitment. And if it's a good relationship, it could last decades, right? Both of you could continue to grow throughout the federal space, working off and on together as what we call competimates, right? Sometimes competitors, sometimes teammates, but treating them with that same level of respect and like you like them, and you want to treat them like that golden goose, because they are as much, a teammate is as much a golden goose as a customer is. That teammate can help you win an opportunity, right? That teammate can help you identify new opportunities. So don't treat them like a second-class citizen or vendor. We who have been in this long enough in the small business world have all come across large primes that treat us that way. They just have this arrogance that they don't even realize they're doing, where they look down to small businesses as an unwelcome necessity at best type thing. Don't treat somebody the way you don't like being treated, right? So when you move forward, treat these teammates as if they're your customer. Treat them like they're the golden goose, and like you actually care about building that relationship with them. So if you understand what I'm saying, do me a favor in the chat, put woo teammates, woo, W-O-O, I think, woo teammates. You want to win these teammates. By the way, if you want me to send you, put a handout out there on our handout page for the teaming worksheet, I'd be happy to do that. I use it a lot with customers, but that's one of those things I'd love to just get more of you following the process, or a process that you can refine. So if you want the handout, let me know and just put teaming worksheet into the chat and I'll send that. But make sure you remember woo teammates is what I really want in there. Okay, so let's talk about the third mistake. So the first mistake is not using a teaming worksheet. The second one is not treating a teammate like a customer. And then the third mistake that we make with teaming relationships, teaming partners, is committing too early. And maybe you've experienced this already, right? But when you commit too early, you begin to tie your hands about what you can do later. And what I mean by committing too early is talking with somebody about an opportunity, instantly having some good chemistry, and go, we're in together. Like we're gonna be the team. You can have this percentage, you can have that percentage. Don't commit too early. You want to sit there and make sure you're looking at multiple teaming partners to decide which ones can truly help you have the best, what I call the winning proposal score, or P-win, right? When you think about it from that standpoint, who can help you really drive forward on this? Who can bring the right certifications, the right people, the right experience? Who can bring the correct writing skills into the proposal to help you win it, right? So what you want to do is use the teaming worksheet, find a handful of potential teaming partners that could fit what you're looking for, and then begin to evaluate them. Your internal team is looking at these people. I fill out a requirements gap analysis. So I take the PWS, the performance work statement, the scope, and I shred that. Basically, I copy that into a spreadsheet. So just the main bullets. Here's the task areas, here's the subtasks. And then I say in another column, how strong are we in this? And how many past performances, specifically which past performances, align to these task areas, right? I'm looking for as many alignments as possible. And when I'm looking for how strong is our skills around this, I'm looking for a score of 5 out of 1 from 5. Well, we do this internally. And what I want you to do when you work with a teaming partner is you've got them lined up because you've identified that you wrote down a teaming worksheet, and then you found a handful of existing teammates or new teammates, but then send them this requirement gap analysis, have them fill it out. This is one of your first signs of whether it's a good teammate to have into your team, because if they fill out the requirement gap analysis and they get it back to you in a reasonable amount of time, now you know they're committed to working with you, right? That's a big thing for getting people to be on that team, is that you're actually committed. But the second thing is you can look at what they respond back with, and you can see how they're saying what their skills are, et cetera. And it should be a flag for you when you get people who fill out a requirement gap analysis with a 5 across the board. I don't want to go too far into that requirement gap analysis, but in order to get a 5, you must be very skilled at it, plus have 3 past performances in that opportunities agency, right? So it's generally impossible to get a 5 unless you actually are solidly in that incumbent or that agency. And so you want to see that, right? Are people paying attention to it? And if you commit too early, if you get into these opportunities, or teaming relationships, and you're committing too early, well, what happens if things change when the PWS is revised and the government is moving through the capture life cycle and something changes and now you need more people? Well, if you have committed 40%, let's say, to somebody, and you've told them, hey, if things change, we're going to have to revise that, they'll still say okay in the beginning. But when you come back to try to revise their percentage from 40 down to 20 so you can bring another partner, they're not going to be happy about it. And so now you got friction. But if you don't commit too early, right? If you make sure you begin to line up the teammates and you begin to communicate really clearly about what you're trying to build here, which task areas are covered down on, then when you've got the right teammates in place, you can begin to commit. And this gets into writing the TA. So I'm going to go into the fourth one for writing the TA in a second. But do me a favor, just put in date longer, that you understand not to commit too early with teaming partners, right? In the chat, put date longer. I want you to date your teaming partners longer before you commit to having them on an opportunity, because it's pretty hard to break up with them. But it's pretty easy to sit there and say, hey, you know what, Jane, let's just keep talking for a little bit. I want to make sure we're covering down on this one task area. And then our plan is to have bring the possible teammates together and talk about which work shares, et cetera. So date longer. Okay. The next mistake, one of the top mistakes we make with teaming partners, is not agreeing to rates before we sign a TA. And I've seen this happen multiple times. By the way, I'm not even talking about experience from the past 20 years. I'm talking about experience for the past year or two that I watch with customers that I'm either guiding at a coaching level, or I'm actually in there with them, helping them on business development and capture. And I see some of these things pop up. But one of the things that I recommend that you get done, and just avoid this mistake from this point forward, is not knowing the rates of the other company. So this goes back and forth whether you're a sub or a prime. So an example is, say you're going to subcontract and you want to be on a subcontract teaming partner. Hit a pause there for a second. Somebody else is the prime and you're the sub, right? What you want to do is to make sure you're communicating your rates early enough in the process before you even get to signing a TA. Communicate your rates and your expectations so that if it doesn't fit for you, you don't have to have this conversation when the RFP drops and you're writing proposals and you're getting into pricing or something, right? If you wait that long or if the prime waits that long. My last company, I would never go below $125 an hour. And so if I communicate that with the other company, with the prime, they can look at me and go, yeah, that's not going to fit with our model. We're below that. I'm like, well, I can't do that because our company is run based on those rates. And so it looks like we're not going to be a fit for this. Cool. Sounds good. We all separate, right? One of the biggest problems with communication is the illusion that it took place at all. What we sometimes do with rates is we just kind of assume the rates will all work themselves out. But that's not true. Or we assume you know my rates. We talked about it once, right? There's this illusion that we had a conversation and that we understood each other. That's why we talk about the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it took place at all. But having the rates discussed and written down, and if you're a prime, I would want the same thing. Look, we're thinking the rates are going to be this. And this is capture, right? To me, this is early solutioning or pricing before you even get to the formal proposal phase. But taken the time to just talk about rates. Where are you guys, Booz Allen? If you're going to be on our team, what are your rates going to be for cybersecurity experts or whatever? Oh, $400 an hour. Cool. I didn't even know rates could go that high, right? Or whatever it is. Having those conversations early on and really coming down on an understanding of rates, understanding the typical rates out there. And by the way, you can do some of this on your own. You can go look at their GSA schedule. Some of the contract vehicles have the rates publicly available. And so go take a look at them and you'll be able to start understanding it. But don't let that go to the last minute because I've seen that just go south. I've seen it go all the way south into a subcontract. And somebody will come back and say, well, you know, the highest we pay is $70 an hour. What are you talking about? Our lowest rate is $150, right? Massive disconnect. And then just all sorts of problems for everybody, right? And we talk about having a win-win relationship. When you get questions like this asked and then discussed, you're working towards a win-win relationship. If you avoid it, you're generally headed towards a lose-lose relationship where everybody loses. It's not even like the prime wins or the other party wins. They don't even win. And so having these conversations is an important thing that I'd like you to remember to do. And so that brings me to the fifth one. So do me a favor in the chat, if you understand what I'm talking about talking about rates early on, put get rates into the chat. Let me know you're tracking on that. And Joe, I looked to the chat for 1 second and I thought I had actually put my own comment in there. Yes, I'm working on communication skills with my wife too. Someday I'll be good. Okay, fifth mistake that we make in teaming partner relationships in the federal market is having vague teaming agreement language, and in particular with no termination criteria. I am not talking about legal. I could care less about legal for the moment. What I care about is relationships. What I care about is winning the opportunity. I have seen too many opportunities go south because of a lack of good language. That has nothing to do with legal, right? The document is legally whatever. I don't even, teaming agreements aren't even really a legal document, right? It's the subcontract. But more important, who cares about the legal aspect if you can't get the relationship understood? If we can't agree with each other, right? Communication is an illusion sometimes. If we can't agree, then we're going to lead to all sorts of problems. And so let's talk for a few seconds about what I mean when I say vague language. One example in a teaming agreement is to have very clear language, right? When you let a lawyer be the one driving a teaming agreement, they just start looking at the boilerplate, right? No offense to lawyers, but they're just looking at the boilerplate. But when you think about it from a business developer or a capture manager, a salesperson's perspective, we're looking at making sure we all know what we're talking about, that we agree. So one area could be the task areas. Hey, this opportunity we're going after, you can have task area 3 and 4. We're going to have task area 1, 2, 5, and 6, right? And that other teaming partner, they're actually going to have 7. That's one clear way of putting language into a teaming agreement about the work area. It's like perfect. If the work comes out on this task area, it's yours. If it comes out on the other one, it's ours. Another example could be, when you think about the percentages, sometimes people don't use that. That's not clear language. We're going to have 20% of the contract and you get 80% of the work or something, whatever it is, right? I've seen larges go, yeah, the contract still got life, a couple of years left. We'll get to you the 20%. Like that wasn't your intention. No one thought that you wouldn't start working on a contract when it was awarded. And so that vagueness that's in there allows people to go, well, it's not clear out there. So think about what you can put in that makes it very clear about the type of work. I said task areas 3, 4, and 5 and 6 or something. You could also say you get all the Oracle work, I get all the SharePoint work, I get all the painting work, you get all the build out work or framing or something. Having that clarity in a teaming agreement is just so helpful. The more words you can put in, the better. Add 2, 3, 4 pages to make it clear, right? I often see people redline, right? Edit a teaming agreement by going into the legal language. It's like, forget that. Get into the basically the scope, the part that we are talking about when we started building a teaming relationship and before we got to the TA. The other big part as it relates to a teaming agreement that it just shocks me that people don't put this in is an expectation of what you must do as a teaming partner. And so in this particular case, I'm talking about when you prime and you have subcontractors on your team, you're bringing subs on, making it very clear when they will be asked to leave the team, right? People are afraid, and sometimes you might be like this as well, afraid to have the conversation. Because if I sit there and say, John, I want to talk to you about the expectations of our teams. When we put a team together, we expect you to continue doing capture. We expect you to participate in the proposal writing process fully as we go forward. And we expect you to be showing up to meetings. Right? We expect you making your solution architects. You told us you've got SMEs, subject matter experts. Bring them into the meetings. These are our expectations of you as a teammate. Are those acceptable? Right? Write these things down. And when you write these down, you can talk with John. And more often than not, John's going to be like, absolutely. I mean, that's what I like. If I'm working with somebody else, I want that. So if you're saying you want that, no, it makes sense. If we don't keep knocking on doors, if we don't respond to data calls, right? If we don't come to meetings, then we can be off. I was watching the customer on a huge opportunity last year where one of the teaming partners said, yeah, we're not going to write to the proposal. It's like, what? But nowhere in there did it say they had to write to the proposal. And so there was like people like, well, we already committed. And this is where you get into this idea that when you're putting a teaming agreement in place, understand the purpose of it. It's basically us clarifying our conversations. We want to team together to win this opportunity. So here's the work split. Here's what we're expected to do. And if we don't do any of these, then we're not on the teaming. Then you're not on the team. And that's, no hard feelings. So as you move forward, make sure you provide clarity and you talk to your teammates about that. You can talk upstream as well, right? To the primes you might work with and say, hey, what's the clarity? What are we expecting? Those are important things to track on, because when you track on them, it'll help you avoid 99% of the problems that are out there. So if you understand what I'm talking about there, do me a favor, just put TA clarity into the chat. TA clarity, teaming agreement clarity. Okay, so in this training, we talked about some top mistakes to avoid with teaming partner when you have teaming partners in the federal space. And those 5 are not using a teaming partner worksheet. If you want to copy that, put it in the chat, let me know. Not treating teammates as a customer, showing them the love, valuing them, committing too early, having not agreeing to rates, and being vague in your TA. Those are mistakes that are going to hurt you. And so the one thing I would recommend that you do as you move forward, one step you could do to improve your teaming partner activity and the relationships you have with teaming partners is create a teaming partner worksheet that has the criteria you'll be looking for when looking for a teaming partner. If you put that in, you've just improved your process a little bit. And government contracting, is a process. Okay, if you found value in today's training, do me a favor, throw thanks in the chat. And also remember, government contracting is not a secret. It is just a process. Part of the process is enjoying the weekend. I hope you have a great weekend. I will see you in the next training.